the Miyoo Mini Plus and the Anbernic RG35XX Plus are two retro emulation handhelds that occupy the same space. Their capabilities, their size, the layout, and the price are as if one is looking into a funhouse mirror, the same but slightly distorted. Since they are so similar, you might want to know which one is better, right? So let's not waste any more time and get into it. First up is the screen. The Miyoo Mini is slightly brighter and the colors feel a bit richer. The viewing angles on both devices are great. You can turn the devices all the way to 90 degrees and won't see the image wash out. But if you wouldn't have the Miyoo Mini to compare to, then you wouldn't mind the RG35 screen at all. There is one flaw, however, that I noticed with both devices. On the lowest brightness settings, there is some coil whine, which is audible when you hold the device closer to you. I used to be able to hear coil whine from chargers like this, especially cheaper ones, so I'm quite sensitive to that type of noise. The RG35's whine I can somewhat tune out, but the Miyoo's is about 20 to 40% louder and can't be ignored as much. And no, it's not the speaker that makes a sound, it really is coil whine. The Miyoo speaker can get quite loud, but also starts to distort past 70% or so, which is still plenty loud, mind you. Quality wise, I would say it's good, but it is on the brighter side and could be a bit better balanced for my taste. The RG35 is slightly louder, not by much though, but does not distort at all, so if you want an emergency music player, go with the RG35. While I am on the topic of sound, I have to talk about the sound that the devices make themselves. Overall, the Miyoo's buttons are quieter than the RG35's, which might be because the Miyoo uses what feels like softer membranes. As for the shoulder buttons, the ones on the RG35 are quite loose, which makes them rattle around quite a lot. As for the feels of the face buttons themselves, I don't mind either, but I prefer the Miyoo Mini's Start, Select and Menu button. It is more accurate to retro consoles to go with the RG35 style, where it has a bit of travel, but I still prefer the Miyoo's. Now the biggest gripe I have are the RG35's shoulder buttons. They have two problems that make mispresses more common while trying to press the L2 and R2 buttons. First, the buttons are on a continuous slope instead of a stair. Because of that, when you try to press on the outside, you are more likely to hit the outer button as well. And second, the L and R buttons go right up to the edge, which causes me to press them while reaching for the L2 and R2s. To prevent that, I would need to do more of a hook with my fingers. When getting to the overall comfort of holding the devices, I have to give it to the Miyoo Mini. Because the RG35 is slightly taller, I find that I have the bottom left corner digging into my palm while playing, which after a while is just plain uncomfortable. This, however, is not a problem if you use a wider stance. But now I'm getting to the two key factors that are really important to me: software and battery life. The Miyoo Mini has become the darling of the community and thus profits from better software support, especially in the custom side of things. While the RG35 is lagging behind and your best bet is to stick with the stock OS, since most of the other OSs are in beta or even alpha stages. I do believe that's a bit of their own fault, since Anbernic is more focused on releasing a new product every few months rather than have one mainstay that they continuously develop. And the next thing I want to talk about is the battery life. I originally planned to do a time lapse, but my cats managed to exit the recording multiple times. I tested the two with no sound at full brightness while running Tekken 3 for the PS1. The Miyoo Mini was using Onion OS and the RG35XX was using the stock OS. The Miyoo Mini exited the game once the battery reached 4% after 4 hours and 10 minutes. It wouldn't let me boot the game again and remained in the menu for another 2 hours and 5 minutes, for a total on time of 6 hours and 15 minutes. The RG35XX, on the other hand, was a real trooper. It stayed in the game the entire time until it shut down after a whopping 7 hours and 25 minutes. Now, one feature I couldn't use for comparison, but is worth mentioning, is the RG35's mini HDMI port. You can in fact hook up the RG35 to a TV, connect a Bluetooth controller, and play games on the big screen. For me, this isn't something I would make use of, but I can see that this is a killer feature for some. And this brings me to the conclusion. For me personally, the winner is the Miyoo Mini Plus. There are a lot of factors that speak for it, and I don't mind the battery life too much. However, you really can't go wrong with either, and I hope this comparison helps you decide if you want to buy the Miyoo Mini Plus or the RG35XX Plus.